Alright, well, the day is here, finally, after a year of anticipation. On the long take today, we're going to be talking about arguably the biggest release of the year, or at least the most highly anticipated one. Star Wars The Force Awakens. Ken and I are going to see where we what are we going to do? I was going to say Ken and I are going to sit down. We'll have to...
Something like that. I think, Justin, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about this movie.
Yeah. So, The Force Awakens came out today. I saw it this morning, bright and early. The earliest I've ever been to a movie before, 9 a.m.
Wow.
And, I guess they don't play movies but this is Star Wars, and theaters are trying to get every ticket sold that they can. And I was actually excited about that because otherwise I probably wouldn't be able to see it for at least a week, when some of the rush dies down, because so many pre-sales and all that. But I was able to go there this morning and luckily see it on opening day. Really, I was more focused on seeing it right away because I didn't want it to get spoiled for me, because I knew that there was some shit getting revealed in this movie. So, and you saw it today too. So, let's get to it, man. What do you got to say about the J.J. Abrams' take on the Star Wars universe?
Yeah, I saw it at 10 a.m. today.
It's California time, so 4-hour difference for me then.
Three hour difference.
Buddy. Yeah, but I saw it at 9 and you saw it at 10. So that's
that's true. So what do I think? You know what I think, Justin?
I'm ready to hear it, man.
I think it's time to just take a second and say, if long take listeners are long time and short time long take listeners, do not, and I repeat, do not go any further in this episode if you haven't seen Star Wars The Force Awakens. Stop the tape.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you're doing this because I didn't even think to do this. You're going to reveal some things.
Yeah, I mean we're going to be talking about it. Something might slip out, and you're going to be like, no. So just stop the tape. Go to your car. Turn the ignition. Go in reverse. Unless you parked the other way, then just go and drive.
You don't want to drive into your garage. Make your way to the street.
Stop at the traffic lights.
Yeah, follow all traffic rules of the road. Stop at the red light. Obey the speed limit. Wear your seatbelt and don't use your cell phone.
And when you get to this, so you want to go to a movie theater, not just a regular theater, because they might be just showing Broadway plays. Even if you're not on Broadway, they might be showing off Broadway plays or off Broadway. Go to a movie theater. All right, and I say theater because there's an E and an A, so that's how I say it. I say heat, like I feel the heat, and I say I feel the theater. And when I say it, I spell it in my mind Theatere, not Ter, because I'm not a fucking idiot. Although I don't know. Sometimes I'm not sure about myself.
Go see it and then come back and press play.
Exactly.
We'll be here waiting for you. Give us some time. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. See the movie. Let me take out the comic section. Ziggy. Sorry, I was reading a newspaper, waiting for the long take listeners to catch up. And I guess you guys did. You saw the movie. You saw Star Wars Episode VII? Oh, listeners, that's amazing. What did you guys think? Oh, wait a minute. You don't have a microphone, do you? Alright, well, I guess I'll tell you my opinion on this movie. Justin?
Yeah.
It's hard to... It's hard to... When you're sitting down and it says... In a galaxy far, far away, right? How is it exactly?
A long time ago, and the fact that you're asking, I'm a little worried. A long time ago in a galaxy
what's
far,
that
far away.
phrase? And then, like, these letters pop out. What is it? I can't... Star
Trek.
What? Star Trek, of course. Oh, I went to the wrong movie. Oh, shit. No, I'm kidding. No, but when those letters pop up, and when Star Wars pops up, and the brass pops up, the music, John Williams score, you're like, holy shit!
Here we go. Yeah, I'm about to see something.
It never. Yeah, I think I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna see a movie here. Looks like a movie.
Yeah, it's more than a movie. At this point, it's
an experience.
Than a movie.
It's an adventure. Although I kind of what I miss about Lucas is that THX thing that pops up. Does that usually pop up?
No, what you missed from when it was Lucas it was Fox. It would open with brum bum.
That's what it was, yeah.
And then Lucasfilm would show toward the end the and then it would.
That's what it was.
So that was kind of missing. I was wondering if they were gonna. Yeah, like there's supposed to be something there, and there wasn't. It was just silence until.
Lucasfilm.
Yeah, I mean, there was silence. Yeah, it did say Lucasfilm, but it didn't say Disney, and it didn't say Bad Robot. It just went to Lucasfilm, and then Star Wars. I mean, a long time ago, Galaxy Far, Far Away.
I'm glad it didn't say Disney Star Wars. Like Mickey Mouse giving a little wink and being like, "Oh, you're gonna watch Star Wars! I own this now! All right. So, I won't tease you. Anymore.
But that's a good place to start, though. Like the movie starts with that infamous opening crawl, and the first sentence is Luke Skywalker has vanished, and everything after that is just like I don't want to compare this to the prequels. I don't think it's fair to compare it to the prequels because it's just a totally different thing. But like I enjoyed reading that. Like it just seemed like it just seemed right. Whereas like reading the prequels, it was like kind of like not to shit on them too much because I know everybody does. Like it's easy to do that. Like,
well, yeah, it's really easy to do because they were terrible. But go on.
But with those movies, it was kind of like I have to like convince myself to like this sometimes. And with this, I felt like I could just kind of let go and just be taken on a ride. Mm-hmm. Right from that opening bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like it's hard not to just want to be along for the ride because the movie convinces you in so many different levels that it really does feel like a continuation of the original trilogy. Like the look of it, the feel of it, it definitely has the kind of aura, and you're like, oh wow, this is a Star Wars film. This is what I was hoping it would play out. This is the feeling that I was hoping that I would get because it's very exciting when the camera pans down from the stars and you see that was the what you would call it, the first order first, the first order or whatever.
Order. Yeah, you see those ships passing off, and then like the shuttles carrying the stormtroopers. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool way to start it off.
Because
it's kind of like a nod to the original, to Episode 4 with the big ship in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of nods to Episode 4.
Yeah, the whole movie you could kind of see as or it's like an homage to A New Hope.
Yeah, it's a very, very homage-y, and that's where I guess I should start with my opinion of this movie.
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
I guess I'd love to talk about the movie itself. I'm hoping when I talk about my opinion, like, I don't want it to bog down, because I still enjoy. Okay, I still enjoy talking about this movie. I will enjoy that with you. But I will say that I was not wild about Force Awakens.
Okay.
When the ride started, I was enjoying it, but then there was too many things too many things that happened that just felt too close to the fourth episode that I was like, all right, do something different. You know, it felt like it was matching it too closely at times. Not like same actions, but like just the beats. Like, okay, this is the part where this happens. This is the part where this revelation happens. I almost was kind of like anticipating it. Like, oh, this, like, and I didn't like that. I didn't like the feeling that, like, I kind of saw some version of this before. I didn't feel like I was taking on a new adventure. I feel like I was taking on a very well done, a very well made recreation of a fantastic adventure, which is A New Hope.
Yeah,
and so
let's stay on that for a second, because, like, it starts with the bad guy, kind of like Darth Vader going into that shuttle and looking for Leia. So now you've got Kylo Ren coming down, and he's looking for the map to find Luke. And again, we're putting, like, the secret documents into this droid, and we're sending this droid to the desert. So we're doing that again. And I don't have that much of a problem with that, because I think I understand what they're trying to do with these movies, because, you know, these are multiple movies that we're going to get. And with the first one, like, for you to say, and a lot of people are having this complaint that it's so similar to Episode 4. But again, like, Episode 4 isn't that original of a story anyway. You know, Episode 4 is here's a hero who is just somebody who didn't think he would ever do it. Like, what is it? Not an anti-hero, but like, you know what I'm trying to get at? Like, Luke's character, the unwilling, you know, he's just a sad farm boy who wants to get out and wants to have an adventure. And now there's the wise old man, and we're gonna basically storm the castle and save the princess. So, like, that's not.
Oh yeah, no, that's what works so well about A New Hope, is that the story itself is very basic, and you're allowed to just get sucked into the character. Yeah. The movie A New Hope, despite the simplicity of the story, it builds a lot of character. You know, Luke Skywalker. There's a reason why we remember Luke Skywalker. Why Han Solo. We care that he shot first. We care about that stuff. There's a reason why, you know, it's so fun to watch C-3PO and R2-D2. You know, the C-3PO's banter. Or Leia being such a well balanced character. And this is all the first movie stuff I'm talking about. You know. Right. Darth Vader, right away, you're just fucking terrified of Darth Vader. Even watching it over and over, you're still a little bit terrified. So you know, all those things are introduced in A New Hope, and so the fact that the story almost needs to be basic in order for all those character elements.
These big characters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My problem with The Force Awakens is that these new characters, save for maybe Finn, while they have some fun lines here and there, and the actors seem to have fun being in this world, not much attention's paid to characterization. Whether it's like Rey and her, what her motivation is, why she wants to go back to her home planet, how is it that she knows how to. She figures out the Force in 3/4 of the movie, when it took Luke Skywalker a movie and a half to figure out, and it was a big thing. It was really drawn out in Empire Strikes Back, which I enjoyed. When he goes to the movie kind of pauses, and he takes his ship and he goes to find Yoda, and that segment of Empire Strikes Back is what makes the last third so strong.
Right.
Is because he doesn't quite figure it out yet. In the third movie, right? If I remember this correctly, is when he goes back and he honors Yoda.
He never gets a chance to finish the training, though. Because Yoda dies.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, but he kind of he figures it out in the third movie. He's more, or is it the end of the second movie or the third movie?
When the third movie begins, he's kind of like, all right, I'm a Jedi Master now, or like I'm a Jedi.
Mm-hmm. But like, in the second movie, he kind of like, I have to save them.
Yeah.
And Yoda's like, you're not finished yet, you know.
Right.
But then doesn't he go back at some point? He
doesn't go back again until the third movie. And
that's what. That's
when
what I thought.
He goes back to finish his training, but Yoda is sick.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. I was hoping that was the case, that I wasn't screwing that up, because I rewatched these over the summer, so they're still pretty fresh in my mind. But of course, when you watch it back to back to back, some plot details can bleed into other films. But my point is, a lot of attention was paid to his training, and in the second, and even in the second film, he's not there yet. You know, whereas with Rey, it's like, how much further does she have to go? By the time she meets up with Luke at the very end, like, you don't get a sense that like there's pain in her heart that she may not if he's going to train her, that she will listen or not listen, or she'll be too wrapped up in her own world. And there's like this whole suggestion that like, who is Rey? Like, what's her backstory? Is she the daughter of Luke? I'm thinking no. I don't think. I feel like that's I feel like if that was the case, they would have said it in the first one. Because why wait 2 years and then be like, oh yeah, you are the daughter? I feel like there's going to be more to that. I don't know who she is.
I think that they leave that up in the air because they want people to wonder, and they want to have the freedom to take the story in a different direction. But for as many arguments as you can make that you think that she is his daughter, you could say that she's not.
Yeah, I know.
But I like that there's a lot of questions about Rey. I absolutely fell in love with Rey.
I think she's great. I just wish I knew more about her.
Right.
As the movie went on.
Well, I think we're going to. Absolutely, we're going to. But the thing is, this movie raises a lot of questions about her. Like, why does she want to go back to Jakku so bad? And then you get that very important flashback sequence where she is called to Luke's lightsaber. Now, why is she being called to that? You know? And then you get that flashback where she's being dropped off as a little girl. Who's dropping her off? Is it Luke? Is she one of Luke's students? You know, was she brought there to... Was she so powerful and so important that he had to hide her away because he failed Kylo? And he became this strong thing, and he had to keep her hidden from him so that he couldn't corrupt her too. I'm leaning to the side that there's a reason for all this, and there's a reason why she is so powerful at the end. Because it's kind of like, it doesn't wake... there it is. She doesn't tap into this until she's being interrogated by Kylo, when he's forcing himself into her head. And when he's doing that, something snaps. And she fights back. Instinctively, she fights back, but she's able to manipulate to the point where she's pushing him. Now, that just doesn't happen. Either she's insanely strong, or she's got some training already. And as you know, they would Luke was trying to start a new Jedi Academy, and he was training new people. So she could very well have been one of the young students, one of the young learners. And from what we're seeing with Kylo and all this emphasis on new force powers, which I love, we're getting this, up until now it's just been choking people, moving things around, lightning, jumping really high. Now we're reading people's minds and stuff, or instead of just manipulating weak-minded people to doing what you want them to do, he's getting into your head. So I think that just that experience, that's what woke up her being able to use this, and he even said when she escaped, the longer that she's out, the longer that she's alone or free, the stronger that she's going to get. So I think that he knows who she is, and he didn't tell her because he didn't want to tell the audience, but she needs to find out who she is, and I think that's what Episode 8 is going to be all about, is her finding out exactly who she is and how she's related to Luke in this whole thing.
I get, and I see your point, and you know, I mean, it makes me feel that I do really enjoy the character of Rey a lot, but I feel like that doesn't. I feel like that could lead to a very great Episode 8, but I just don't like the idea of The Force Awakens being so much of a setup movie, because A New Hope is not a setup film. A New Hope doesn't set it works. It has a beginning, middle, and end. A New Hope, they didn't know if that movie was going to do well enough to have sequels. The movie works on its own, on its own, well enough on its own. Now you can say that Empire Strikes Back does have a lot of setup for Return of the Jedi, but there's so much. There's so much that's great about Empire Strikes Back, and so many so many wonderful expansions to the story in Empire Strikes Back that surprise you, that you're kind of willing to forgive the fact that not everything's quite wrapped up, because there's so much. See, my problem with The Force Awakens is that, like, I feel like I was like, when you find out who Kylo Ren is, I was like, whoa, we're already finding this out now? Like, I don't know, maybe I was expecting it, like, because it was adhering to A New Hope in so many different ways. I was surprised that they were making these big reveals kind of early on in the film, that they were making these big reveals, and that would be fine. But I don't know. I feel like.
Are you worried that, like, they're not going to have those aha moments later because they used them all up?
I guess I just kind of felt like I didn't know Kylo Ren enough at that point to be like, oh wow, that's their son. I kind of got a sense that he's Darth Vader light, but I didn't get the sense that, like, oh wow, that's their son. I already kind of know who he is. By the time it's revealed that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father, that is a holy shit moment, because we've been through it for a movie and a half with these characters. Right. And at that point, you're not expecting anyone to be anyone's father. You're not expecting that, and it just kind of happens, and you're like, holy shit. With here, I guess the problem is, by hinging these movies so much on them being so spoilery, you're kind of expecting reveals like this now, and that kind of makes it a different experience than A New Hope.
I have to say, though, that this isn't something that we've had with any of the prequels. You're not worried about, like, because you know that story, you know what you're being told. This is the first time that you're going into a story, a Star Wars related story, and you don't really know what's going to happen. You know that it's about, you know, the rise and fall of Darth Vader. You know how Anakin becomes Darth Vader, and because you know where the story's going, that's why I think those movies are so. Really, in a sense, like, we rewatched them recently, and Episode 1 and 2 especially, they just seem way longer than they are, because there's so much in there, so much exposition, so much politics, so much is just very boring, and just to keep this story going, because you don't fall in love with these characters, and I think that's why this movie is so, like, it's so important for it to set this foundation, because you're passing the torch from old characters that you already love to these new ones. And that's why I think they chose this similar story structure, because it reminds you of a story that you've kind of heard before. Like, you know where you are, and you've seen these characters, but here are these new ones. And because, like, yes, Star Wars A New Hope, that movie, they didn't know it was going to be this trilogy. You know, they didn't know that it was going to span all of this expanded universe stuff. But, you know, at the time they made it a movie that just stands on its own. But people love this movie. So you can't make a Star Wars movie now without acknowledging that. And for us to have new characters, that first movie really needs to set it up for them. It really needs to introduce them, so that it's really just about, like, who are these people and why should we care about them, and not so much the story. I think Episode 8 is where we're going to get an interesting story. Episode 7 was more about who are these people.
But we don't really know who they are still. I mean, we don't really...
I think we know enough.
To keep going? Sure, but for Episode 7 to be considered a good enough film on its own? Not necessarily. That's where I break off. Is does Episode 7 work on its own? My answer is no. It doesn't. It's fun in a lot of places. If I were to watch 8 and 9, I would want to watch 7 first. But as a movie, as its own cohesive film, there's just simply too many questions, and not enough. I really do feel like it's kind of a New Hope in fast forward. Like, it has the same
the
beats.
pacing did seem really fast. That's something that I noticed. Like, the movie
I think
flies.
it could have slowed down. I think they could have waited on bringing in Han Solo and Chewbacca, and I think they could have waited on bringing these characters that we knew from way back then. And that's where it kind of feels like, you hear the term fan service a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that's coming from, is because it's like the movie couldn't wait to at least show you Han Solo, like, 20 minutes in? I don't know, I'm not quite sure how soon, but if
it wasn't 20 minutes. It was the second act.
Okay, but like it still felt like I didn't yet know enough about who Rey was, or who
I think that
Finn was.
Even though Han and Chewbacca are there, it's not about them. They're there, but all that they do is there to aid these new characters. Like when Han and Rey are in the ship, like, you're learning, like, oh, she knows some things about being a pilot. She's got the respect of this guy that we already know. Like, that kind of makes it so that you respect her because Han is vouching for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I kind of feel like because Han Solo has such a strong personality, and we know so much about that character, and Chewbacca, that naturally I feel I was gravitating to them because, hey, my old friends are back.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, is that it doesn't matter how little role they're in there. They're in the story right at that point, and at that point, who's Rey? Who's Finn? I don't care. Han Solo and Chewbacca are right there. They're back for the first time in 30 years. Like, that kind of stuff, it kind of, like, maybe on a second watch or a third watch, or maybe on a second watch, it'll feel a little bit better. But, I don't know what, like, I enjoyed, in the moment, I was enjoying seeing Han Solo and Chewbacca. But I was.
Sounds like you were distracted by it, though. Like, that's what it's saying. Like, you didn't care about the other people because you're so excited to be seeing, the old familiar faces. And that didn't happen to me.
Okay.
No, like, I don't, like. I was still really enamored by these new faces. I don't know.
I was enamored, but I didn't feel like I knew enough about them to, like, believe that Rey has the Force strong in her, and that she is that quick and smart and kind of knows how to do everything. She doesn't. I don't know, I just don't feel like there's that much dramatic tension there, that she already is skilled, has that much skill in so many places. Like, there's no... Like, I don't want a repeat of A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, but it just in basic character terms. Like, she's a young character, and in the beginning, she thought Luke Skywalker is a myth. Maybe the person who trained her, she didn't know that was Luke Skywalker. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe he didn't call himself Luke Skywalker. Maybe that's what the whole thing is.
Maybe he did something to her head when he dropped her off so she wouldn't remember him.
Like in Men in Black?
No, this thing's all about manipulating people's brains. Like, that was one of the central powers that Kylo used.
Why can't we, like... It's just there's a lot of extrapolating going on here. It's like, oh, well, maybe that happened because of
Star Wars.
but we don't. There's no extrapolating in Episode 4. That's what I'm talking about. We have to kind of assume, oh, they're going to get to that later in order for Episode 7 to work, and that's fine. And I'm going to watch Episode 8, and I'm going to enjoy it. Hopefully, Rian Johnson takes the ball and runs with it, and we get a great movie out of that. But I'm kind of disappointed that, like, it's, we're leading up to a great film, and Force Awakens is kind of like, it is really just doesn't work well enough for that to be to really call that a great cohesive film by itself.
It's not.
I think it could have been slowed down a little bit. Yeah, I think it could have slowed down a little bit and just paid a little bit more attention to who Rey and to who Finn are, because Finn, when you see him as a stormtrooper and all of it, like we don't necessarily need to know. Like, it's pretty obvious why. In fact, yeah, it's pretty obvious why Finn wants to turn against, the First Order. But at the same time, because that's never happened before in the Star Wars film, you're kind of like, whoa, wait, how does that work? Like, the structure of that, like, when he explains, like, how he was brought up, and, how he was taken away from his family that he never knew, and grew up. But it's like, okay, so then why the change? You know what I mean? Why are you different from everyone else? Like, again, it's just like, I wish there was a little bit more, and we're not going to get it until Episode 8. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't want this movie to be exposition heavy, and yet, like, because this is the 7th episode of a franchise, and something completely different happens, like a stormtrooper turning against his stormtroopers, you're like, wait. I mean, I'm like, wait a minute. Like, at first, you're just kind of like, well, wait a minute. Like, how does that work? When, like, how terrible is this new First Order structured that they can allow? I mean, it just seems like the First Order is kind of bad at their jobs, despite how evil and violent they are.
Well, look who's in charge. There's these two young guys. They're
who's
they're
the
not
fucking giant?
yet.
Who's the fucking giant thing? Like,
that's a hologram. You don't know how big he is, really. He could be like the Wizard of Oz type thing.
Okay, yeah, okay, that makes more. I was kind of like, who is that? Like,
when I first saw this giant, I was like, oh my, yeah. That's what I thought too. But
the thing is, there's really no. It's really just him telling these evil people what to do, but you don't get the sense that, like, his right-hand man and left-hand men are strong enough to really have a good hold on the inner workings of their evil empire, or their evil, not quite empire yet.
It's not. No, it's not. It's just a small faction. It's kind of like it's an army. It's just they've got this super weapon.
But there just seems to be a lot of holes in their structure that a stormtrooper could actually turn against them because he doesn't like what's going on around him. You know what I mean?
He saw a group of people he saw his friend die, and then he saw, like, a village get massacred. And it's like, why has this never happened before?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Maybe he's just a good guy.
Okay. Well, all I was going to say is that, having said that, I like Finn. I think Finn, of all the new characters, he's the most developed character, because even though we don't quite know why he's turned, we know the nature of the First Order. We know we can understand why, but we can understand why he would turn. It just doesn't quite make sense, just in the way the Star Wars movies have been before. It's okay. That's new. Like, how does that work exactly? But I understand. Like, that kind of makes sense. I can't believe that's the first time that's happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
He at least has a motivation throughout the film. He wants to get away from the First Order. Although he kind of need, like, a problem, I guess, is that you're kind of assumed that he's attached to Rey, but there's really no much time, again, spent in establishing that they care for each other enough that, like,
I thought
other than her being, they had decent enough chemistry, but again, it's just they just met, and he's like, his motivation just kind of gets, it's kind of confusing. Like, either he wants to, like, what exactly is his plan after escaping the First Order. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't even know.
I think he's conflicted. Like he wants to get away from them as far as possible, but then here's this really really pretty girl, and I've never seen one of those before because
Jesus, the first girl.
Yeah, first girl that he's ever seen. So he's trying to impress her and all that. So, yeah, he's conflicted.
I'm not like because I want to make it clear that I'm not like trying to shit on this movie. I really do like Finn, and I do like, but I feel like he's an example of someone who actually has a motivation, and that's why I'm drawn to him. That's why I like him. Whereas with Kylo Ren, with Rey, with Poe Dameron, I was kind of disappointed in seeing like how little. I mean, I guess we'll get more of Poe Dameron in the sequels. I'm sure he's going to have a
much bigger role in the next one.
Yeah, but like he doesn't really seem to have as big of a part in this film that I anticipated. Because like, Oscar Isaac's going to be in this film.
I think he contributed a little bit though. Like the first scene where he's kind of like, I was kind of very pleasantly surprised that when he did that thing, it was like, who's going to start? You going to start? I'm going to start. Like that's him, you know. And I wasn't really ready or like expecting that to translate to the Star Wars universe. So I thought that was kind of cool that he had that attitude. And there's a character there for sure. And like, right now you just know him as like a badass pilot, but like we're going to see more.
Yeah, I did get a sense of like almost kind of a young Han Solo feel, but with more genuineness. He's not quite the wise ass that
he's more of a
Han
good
Solo
guy.
is.
Like he's just like a bro. You know, he just wants to
exactly.
He's like, keep your jacket. It looks good on you, kid. Like,
and like that's the only thing I will say about Finn is like he gets way too excited. Like I understand he's fighting.
I know.
But he's like, woo, woo, yeah, bro. Like he gets really broed up with Poe. You it's almost kind of disappointing that Poe kind of disappears. Yeah. Because I'm not sure if there was like a great reason for that. Like, but I accepted it. You know, at that point. But I was kind of like, well, I was just starting to really get interested in this Poe Dameron character.
Right. Then you kind of think it's going to be about him because he's there right from the beginning.
But like the thing is, he came back so late. That's the thing. Is like he kind of came back late in the game. Like, he is alive, but like there is no in between there, and like it's understandable that now we're going to focus on Finn, and then we're going to focus on Rey. But then you're like, I was like, okay, where the fuck is? Did he die? I mean, I know he can't be dead because Oscar Isaac. That'd be really awful. Like that's his life. That's his life in the Star Wars movies. But like it's a really cool, interesting character, and like dead. You know what I mean? But so I was glad to see it back. But I'm like, okay, where the fuck were you for a good hour of this film? You know, so I could see myself falling in love with these characters, falling in love with this new version, and I definitely see Force Awakens as being a clear notch above the prequels. Having said that, if the prequels didn't exist, if there were no prequels, how would I feel about the Force Awakens? You know what I mean? Like because the prequels were so bad, Force Awakens, you're like, oh, thank God. You know, thank God they made a competent, a good. This is a good Star Wars film. In a lot of ways, it could because it's entertaining. It's fun. There is a sense of humor. There is a sense of enjoyment involved. I just ultimately I don't feel like it works on its own, and I wonder if I'd be as forgiving of its flaws ultimately. And I know it doesn't sound like I'm that forgiving, but I am overall kind of forgiving because of the prequels. But if the prequels were gone, I feel like I'd be much less forgiving of the way J.J. Abrams handled the story.
The only thing that I have to say about that is that if there were no prequels, we wouldn't have this movie. Because there wouldn't be a need for it. Those 3 movies would stand on their own. They would just be the story of Luke Skywalker. But because the prequels came out...
I would take that, actually.
Huh?
I would take that. But go on.
Yeah, right. But because the prequels came out and they left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, there was a desire for us to go back to this world and have it set right. And it's funny that I missed this. I didn't pick up on this until I read about it a little bit. But the first line in the movie is Poe talking to the little droid BB-8, and the first line is, "All right, this should set this right," which I think is an obvious knock to Lucas. All right, we're gonna set this right. We're gonna fix this up. We're gonna make this better. Mm-hmm. You know, yeah. And that's what they set out to do. And I don't know. It definitely felt more fleshed out, more real. Like just that shot of her sliding on the sand down that hill, like that. There was nothing like that in the prequels because everything was on a green screen or whatever. You know, like this was
that's a great
desert.
Point. That is a great point. There was more of a sense of things that we see are actually there. That this world actually could exist. Yeah, there was definitely that.
It was a 3D world. Like they're climbing up hills and cutting down trees and stuff like that. And like anything that was CGI. Or like the motion capture stuff, like I thought that Maz Kanata, that character, or Kanata, that was Lupita Nyong'o's character. She, that's CGI,
I liked her,
but that looked great. Like that fit, and it looked real. You know, it didn't look, and maybe that's just the technology has advanced. You know, it's been about 10 years since Revenge of the Sith came out, and movies have just gotten better and better looking. But I don't know, man. Like throughout the 2 hours and 20 minutes or whatever this was, I was never bored. There were times when I was on the edge of my seat. There were times that I just cracked up. It was definitely a very funny Star Wars movie, and I'm intrigued. I left the theater wanting to know more about these characters. You know, because you get the sense that they're incomplete characters, especially Kylo Ren. Like he's not even fully trained yet. He's not Darth Vader. He wants to be, but he's not. I was happy with Adam Driver's performance. I was happy with everybody's performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked the performances. But again, I just feel like you say you're never bored. I wasn't bored either, but I still feel like the movie was too sped up. I still feel like I could have slowed down, and I think we could have saved some time to get to know these characters better, so that when huge plot revelations or huge character revelations come up, they are more holy shit moments than like, because once you know Kylo Ren is Han Solo and Princess Leia's son, like that shit's out there. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like I know so little of him at that point. I know so little, and I only seen a glimpse of what he can do and how evil he is, or if he's not necessarily that evil yet. Maybe he could be more. Or that, like,
killed his dad, so
yeah, like he killed his dad, and you're like, oh shit, okay. But at that point, I was like, that could have that was a crucial moment too, because that kept Because if he did like say, okay, Dad, you know, like that would have been like a totally
then we don't have any more movies.
Exactly. But like, it was So, and I kind of feel like that was Harrison Ford's request. Like, just kill me.
Yeah, all right, I'll come back, but you got to do this. Like, when they froze him in carbonite in Empire, they didn't have him locked down for the third movie.
Yeah.
So since he signed the contract, they brought him back. But if he didn't, then he would have just stayed dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so, and he even said like back in the 90s that he would never do another Star Wars movie. Mm-hmm. Here he is again, but you know, just for this one. Yeah,
I can see why he would come back, because I do think this. That's just the thing. I think this movie did a really good job with the old characters, and that's why. Yeah. I guess that's kind of like why I see it as an issue almost, is because yes, I really love seeing all these characters back in this universe. I love that so much. You know what I mean? I really did, and that was really a thrill for me to see Leia back, to see her doing stuff, to see Han Solo doing stuff. You know, to shooting his gun. See Chewbacca. You know, to see C-3PO, to see R2-D2. That was kind of like, okay, R2-D2, you're not in it. Okay, now you're in it.
and R2 had very small parts. Mm-hmm. I thought there'd be more in it.
And
Admiral Akbar.
Akbar was just kind of in that shit too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really, really fun, and I got so much enjoyment out of those characters being back in the world. And I think, but not only that, but I think they did a good job. I think J.J. Abrams did do a good job of handling those characters in this world. It felt like them. It felt like what they would say. It just felt right. I would say it was kind of weird knowing that Han Solo dies now. I do kind of wish there was more of a moment between him and Leia. We get a moment, and it's almost too muted. Knowing, like, I get that, like, maybe they haven't seen each other in a while. I'm not quite sure. We don't quite know how long it's been since they've seen.
You get the sense it's been a while.
And so, like, but like knowing that's going to be the last, like, if there was never going to be a Leia and Han Solo scene ever, like, this movie never existed. Fine, I have the two, but to know that they're going to be back together and they're older and wiser and they have a history together. Well, I don't know.
That's what makes it all the more tragic when what happens to him, because you know that, like, if he was able to go back, like, they might be able to get back together. Who knows? Because he's just been, like, you know, their son is this monster, and that drove them apart. And now here they are again, and you can see it. Like, you wanted there to be more between the two of them. And we don't get that, and it's his fault. Yeah.
I mean, you know, he tries to do the right thing and everything, but you know, he kind of gets. And it was I almost kind of, again, when it comes to Kylo Ren, like, him deciding to do that was important for the movie, but you're just kind of like, okay, what? How bad were these? How bad was Leia and Han Solo as parents that Kylo Ren could be that evil? Like, okay, he gets trained by Luke Skywalker, and then he rises against him. He gets a sense of the Force, and he goes to the dark side. Okay.
Well, I think he was seduced by this guy.
Right. So he was seduced. I get that there was that there, and yada. But still, like, I don't know. I just kind of feel like
I think at that point, like, he was trying to convince himself, because he's so fixated on being this figure, being like Vader, that he had to be this badass. But Vader was this fully fleshed. Like, there was no doubt. Like, that is a confident, competent badass, and this guy is like an emotional, temper tantrum throwing wannabe. Really, who's in way over his head. And yeah, go ahead.
I guess I wish that, aside from that tall alien looking dude, that there was, I mean, Domhnall Gleeson was fine, but he's more like a general. He's not really like a,
he's kind of like the Tarkin of this thing.
Yeah, he's not a central,
like from the first one,
evil figure. And I feel like this movie doesn't have a central evil figure, at least for. Because, you know, in the original trilogy there was Palpatine, right?
Right.
And like, he becomes more and more fucked up, and like, he's always evil. But at first, in the first movie, it's Darth Vader who is like uniformly evil, and then in 5 and 6, we see that how just it gets more and more Palpatine. It's more and more. And even though Palpatine kind of is on the sidelines for the most part until the end where he almost kills Luke Skywalker, he's still intimidating. He's still threatening enough that it works. That like his arc really works for those trilogy, the original trilogy. With Force Awakens, I don't know. I guess it's just because, like, I think I've just seen too many, like, you know, superhero movies where, like, there's like this bigger person to answer to, but they don't play a big enough role in the movie itself.
Yeah.
I think that's
that's always leading to the next movie.
Exactly, because with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you have Thanos, and Thanos has been threatening for the last like 5 years, in these movies.
Right.
And then finally, in the end of Avengers 2, he's like, "Fine, I'll do it myself." But you're like, "You're okay, fine. Finally, you're gonna fucking do something." Because who the fuck are you even? I don't even know who you are at this point. Still,
yeah.
And you've been in several movies, so I guess I kind of wish it didn't go that route as far as like who the bad guy is. I guess I wish there was like a more, because in the original trilogy you have strong good characters and you have strong evil characters, and that's why it works so well. With this one, it's fine that Kylo Ren is conflicted and throws temper tantrums, but I still feel like you need a stronger, more evil character figure. It could be that tall alien, but he needs to have more of a role in the story.
I love that you keep calling him the tall alien
because he looks like your typical alien. He just looks like he has that kind of like he has a fucked up face. I don't know. He looks like a mix of Two-Face and just like an alien. I don't know.
Yeah. That was Andy Serkis.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. But I guess I just wish because in order for these movies to really work, in my opinion, I think it would have worked better on its own, despite all the flaws that I just said, if like there was a clear evil guy that would never, like, you could never convince him of anything good, like Palpatine or like Darth Vader in the first movie. You could never think that he would be convinced of being good. And then with Palpatine in later films, like, he's just fucking evil, and he's always going to be evil, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Tall alien guy, I think, is that guy. He's the puppet master behind this.
But he's too much. He's too much of a puppet master for me in this movie. That's all I'd say.
Yeah.
And I guess what we're gonna need to see is if Kylo Ren is gonna be uniformly evil, like, eventually, I gotta be convinced. You know what I mean? Because that's another thing. It's great that he's conflicted, but knowing that he's conflicted, seeing him conflicted in the beginning, it's different. It's different than when seeing Darth Vader conflicted at the end, because there's so much that you're like, wow, Darth Vader can actually be conflicted like that. That was powerful. Yeah. But to see Kylo Ren conflicted in the end, you really have to be fucking evil in the last two to really be convinced that he's evil. You know what I mean?
I mean, I want to say so much, because I think that it's interesting that you don't know exactly where it's going to go. But I wouldn't say that he's not evil. Like, they set the tone in the beginning. Like, he gives the order to just slaughter a bunch of people. That's pretty evil. He's ruthless. He gets bad news and he kills a guy. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like stuff that Vader used to do. But I guess what I mean to say is, like, because, like I say, I want to say so much. I'm like arguing with myself at this point, because he's not he's not Darth Vader. He's not like, you know that there's some struggle within him, and you're getting that right off the bat.
Yeah, so, when he takes his mask off, like, but when he takes his mask off, like, Adam Driver is still so young looking that there really does seem to still be some.
He's not intimidating at all.
Yeah, and that was kind of a problem for me. Just to have the mask off.
I think that's intentional.
I can see. I think it would have, if him taking off the mask to look his father in the eye before he kills them. That's great. That's cool. You know what I mean? That's like fucking. That's good shit. But because we've already seen him without his mask, I get. Can he only really do those mind powers with his mask off? Like, I'm not.
No, because he did it with Poe in the beginning.
Yeah, so I guess I'm wondering, like, just why he had to take his mask off.
Doesn't Rey say something like, "Oh, you got to hide behind that mask"? Like, she calls him out on it. He's like, "I'll take it off right now." What, bitch?
Yeah, but I guess that's fine in the moment. But then I just feel like you gotta admit, if he didn't take off his mask until when he sees his father face to face, and then he's like, you see innocent Adam Driver and you're like, "Oh, he's still young," and he's like, "Fucking boom!" Like right through Harrison Ford's spleen, and you're like, "Oh fuck, this guy's really fucked. This guy's fucked up." You know what I mean?
I think the big thing that they're trying to establish with this, like with taking off the mask and all that, is like these are kids. You know, the bad guy and the good guys, they're all kids, and we don't really know them yet, but we're interested in them enough to show up for the next movie when we don't have so much of the old guys around.
Yeah. I mean, I assume we're going to have a little bit more of Luke Skywalker and Leia in the sequels, though. I mean, they're not. They're not
I don't know about Leia, but definitely Luke.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like they're not dying anytime soon. Like, I'm sure Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill would be more than happy to continue being in this universe. And I feel like the only reason why Han Solo dies is because Harrison Ford wanted out. You know, he wanted in, but only for one movie. I feel like they probably like, okay, well, that gives us a good reason to kill you. You know, and that would make a really powerful first movie. But yeah, I mean, I guess overall it's a combination of not enough character development and a lot of shit happening. That's my problem with this. If they spent more time on character development and there wasn't like crazy plot twists going on, characters that I know that suddenly die, like if that wasn't happening, I think I would have been fine with that. If that's what 8 and 9 were going to be, you know, I would have been fine with that. But because it was like a weird combo for me, it was a weird combo of, and I think, you know, I guess the movie's kind of at a disadvantage in that like there's a sense of obligation that it has to mix the old and the new.
Right.
So I can understand the struggle.
Yeah, the franchise has been tarnished, and like they have to kind of bring this back and bring it back in the right way. So there's like the pressure that he was under to deliver. I mean, I know that you wish it was more of a standalone movie, but it's not that, and it's not trying to be that. It's trying to set the stage for the next movie.
But okay, but I know what you're saying. I don't know, man. It's just that, like, look, I appreciate what J.J. Abrams did, and yeah, he had a lot of pressure to pull this off, and he did, as far as setting the tone for this franchise. But at no point after seeing this movie, if you were to ask me, like, has my opinion of J.J. Abrams changed from before watching Force Awakens to after, I would say no, because I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's a competent director. He's never shown me that he could rise above like that kind of like medium level of entertainment. Like, this was entertaining, it was fun, but did it wow me? Did it blow me away? No. And I feel like that's kind of the nature of J.J. Abrams for me. He just doesn't. His movies just play it safe too much, in my opinion, and that's why and like he goes from blockbuster franchise to blockbuster franchise, and in the middle of Steven Spielberg knockoff, really. And so he's
really good at like adopting other people's styles and like stepping into their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Almost making it seem like he's just like an extension. Like now he's doing his George Lucas movie.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, he did his Steven Spielberg movie, and I'm not sure like what he was trying to emulate with the Star Trek stuff, but at the same time, it's like you don't really get a clear sense of what his voice is because he's so good at mimicking other people's voices.
Right, and like a lot of people like to rag on Quentin Tarantino for being so homage heavy, but to say that Quentin Tarantino doesn't have a voice is just that's a absurdly wrong statement to make. Even if you have a problem with him being an homage, like doing his homage, he does homages in his own way. Whereas I feel like J.J. Abrams, I don't know if you were to ask me describe what a J.J. Abrams movie is. I'd say it depends on the movie. It depends on which franchise he's aping. You know what I mean, or which franchise he's trying to. You know, it's kind of a weird career to have as a director when I would think when all you do is kind of just jumped from franchise to franchise, or Super 8, which is just it's kind of creepy because Super 8 almost feels like the main character is Steven Spielberg. You know what I mean? Because he's a young kid who wants to be a director, and I'm like there's a lot of ET, Close Encounters stuff going on. It's just I enjoyed I enjoyed the movie as I watch it. At least with the first few J.J. Abrams films, I enjoyed Star Trek and I enjoyed Super 8 as I watched it. They didn't hold up for me with repeated viewings and when I thought about them. With Star Trek Into Darkness, that's when I really started to realize, like, who is J.J. Abrams? Like, I started to wonder, like, who is he as a director? Because, again, I'm having the same kind of, like, okay feeling with him. I kind of in the middle. And Star Trek Into Darkness, it just was kind of like a surprisingly got good reviews, but I didn't like Star Trek Into Darkness. You know, I felt like there were so many problems with that film, and
did you see the trailer for the third one?
I almost don't want to bother. I don't really have any interest at all.
The director from Fast and Furious,
right? So how was that? Have you seen it yet?
I mean, I saw it, yeah, but like I don't know, it just seems like a run-of-the-mill action movie now, and I feel like a lot of the Star Trek diehard fans are going to be really disappointed and let down.
Yeah, and I think
this isn't what they're used to. You know,
that's what we were talking about. We talked about J.J. Abrams before, and when it comes to the Star Trek films, that's what he kind of turned the franchise into. That's kind of his fault. He kind of turned that into Star Trek. It's not philosophical, and that's another thing with The Force Awakens is there's no philosophy. There's no and I understand. I guess the prequels kind of killed that. I guess it got way too. I can't remember the prequels that well, but I know the original trilogy really cared about like the philosophy of the Force and how that
light and dark,
and even in the first film with Obi-Wan, I mean, there is the light and dark, but I feel like that was so simplistic in Force Awakens, the light and dark. But I
thought it was interesting that in this case we've got Kylo, who's supposed to be this bad guy, but he has moments of weakness where it's kind of like up until now it's always been like good guys like Anakin, who's being tempted by the dark side, but he has that one line where he feels like he's being seduced by the light by sympathizing for his family, missing his mother and his father. That's him being weak and him giving into the light side. I thought that was an interesting take on that because we haven't seen anything like that before.
Yeah, but I just feel like there was no real attempt to further delve into like the philosophy of Star Wars. I mean, like, when you talk about Star Wars standing the test of time and having like this universe, having like this, you're talking about something that was created out of nothing and has become what it's become. And I think it's a combination of all those things, and of the characters, the world building, and I think it's the general philosophy of what the Force is and what it means to these characters and what what the dark side's supposed to be about. And what the good side of the Force is supposed to be about, and I feel like they really did a great. I mean, they didn't just do a great job. They kind of set the tone with the original trilogy. Really, kind of. I mean, those scenes with Yoda are so important to the fabric of the Star Wars franchise. Because all of a sudden you realize that there's something more going on here than just your simple like action adventure type film. When Yoda has to teach Luke Skywalker the ways of the Force, and like the actual teaching, is very influenced by Eastern religions and philosophy. I guess I just wish that that wasn't so skimmed over with The Force Awakens, and I think the thing is, I think that's the nature of J.J. Abrams. I don't think he's interested in the philosophy of the world of Star Trek or the world of Star Wars, So that's what I say.
Are you going to see it again?
Yeah, I'll probably see it around. I'll probably see it around Christmas time, closer to Christmas time next week.
Well, if you're going to be in Tubbs River, are you going to be in Tubbs River on Christmas?
No.
No, you're going to be in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and then I'll be in Tubbs River from 28th to the 1st.
I was going to invite you to come with us because I'm going to go see it again day after Christmas. With a couple friends.
Maybe we'll have a brief conversation about our second viewing of
we could do that. Like maybe while we're taking the train out to the city, we could chat it up about what it was like the second time around. Hopefully, I will be sick then. Hopefully, I'll be feeling a little better.
Yeah, I hope you're not sick by then because I don't want to get sick.
I don't want to get you sick, boy.
Yeah, I don't want to get sick. I don't want you to get me sick. So, well, Justyn, I gotta tell you, and I think that we can end this by kind of like speculating about the sequels a little bit more. But I gotta tell you, I think we managed to have a fair. I mean, I hope it was fair. If you feel like I was too hard on the Force, I wasn't. Look, I wasn't expecting to go either way. I didn't know what I was going to think. I wasn't trying. I really wanted to love The Force Awakens. I liked it enough to want to see 8 and 9. And I guess that's enough. But
let me ask you this: if you could have left the theater and walked into another theater and watched 8 right away, would you?
Yeah, because I know Ryan Johnson's directing 8.
Okay.
Like when you that's like the huge draw is that like Ryan Johnson's writing and directing Episode 8, and Ryan Johnson is interested in like the more philosophical side. Like Looper is hardly even about time travel. It's more about like what if your future self saw your young self. That's really what he wanted to do was get to the meat of what it means to time travel, go back in time, and see yourself at 25 when you're 55. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or Brick. Brick is the fact that he takes like this, makes a film noir set in a high school. Like he really knows how to take like ideas and twist them and bend them. And make them something completely different. So I'm really interested in seeing how he twists the world of Star Wars, and hope maybe he'll make Episode 7 stand out a little better. Who knows if Empire Strikes Back, if it was 1980 and Empire Strikes Back came out, I don't know what happens in Return of the Jedi. Who knows? Maybe my opinion on Empire Strikes Back would be a little bit different because I'm like, okay, well, I don't know, like, what's going to happen. Like, there's still a lot left unsaid. And I'm of the philosophy, and maybe I have to change my ways. What's really nagging at me is, and this is going a little bit beyond this new Star Wars trilogy, but, like, the fact that audiences are willing to go see Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 knowing it's half a movie and being satisfied by that. That bothers me. What Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 is not necessary. Just take it out.
Studios are winning, man. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Take it out.
Yeah.
It's just that shit.
Why make one movie when you can make 2?
Why not just make one cohesive film? Because when
I hear you. It's the studios. They want to make some more money.
I
they
know.
Make 2 movies out of one.
And so, like, I guess, you see that more and
people
more.
Aren't going to wait, for what we're talking about with Star Wars. If it was a little slower, if it devoted some more time to understanding these characters, then it would be a 3-hour movie. And yeah, people would probably still see it, but maybe the casual fan would be like, I'm not going to watch some 3-hour space movie.
I don't really think none of the original trilogies are 3 hours. They're 2 hours and change, and they still managed to put plenty of character in those movies. I don't agree. I don't think it would have to be a 3-hour film. Well, I don't.
But I just don't think that Star Wars back in the 80s is the same thing that Star Wars is in 2015. There's you have to service the fans a little bit because the expectations are so high, especially after what we've been subjected to. I feel like I was saying, like, the torture that we had to experience, just what we had to sit through from '99 to 2005. Like those prequels really messed up, man. And then these are the response to that.
I get that. I get it, but I don't understand the need to. Like, you're going to have an audience anyway. They're going to come to the theater anyway. Why not, if you're going to introduce us, yes, I agree. We don't know what 7, 8, or 9 are going to be like. But why does 7 have to be like 4 in order for us to comfort us? It could still be a great action adventure. It doesn't have to repeat the same beats as Episode 4. It doesn't. And it can still build on these new characters without... and give us a little bit of something, like have them have like struggles in the first film that makes sense for that film, and let that carry over to the eighth film. Instead of like they have these struggles, but we don't really know why, and we won't know why until Episode 8, and so their motivations for things happening kind of just happen out of nowhere in Episode 7. That doesn't really work for me. It's too easy. It's too easy to be like, oh, well, Rey all of a sudden knows how to do this. We'll explain it later. Don't worry about it. Like, that doesn't... There's no struggle there. There's no conflict. There's no, sense of, there's nothing to be emotionally attached to. You like Rey. You like these characters. But you're not... I like these characters enough to want to see more of them in the future because they're funny and they have some wit. But... there's no struggle. There's no real struggle in this film. It all comes a little too easy for all these characters. Like when Finn, he doesn't know how to fucking shoot out of that ship. Oh, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out along the way. Oh, I can. He was in sanitation. Oh, I could figure. I could do it along the way. I know how to do it, and he just does it. And it's like, there's at least show us some kind of struggle. At least show us that it's kind of hard for him to do all the things that he's doing, but he just does them. And that for me, it doesn't. It's too easy, and it might be fun to watch the action that happens after. But it does a disservice to these characters because you're like, well, these guys are just like naturally gifted, God's gift to, action adventure movies, but they're not. They don't feel like they don't yet feel like real 3-dimensional characters at this point, Yeah. So yeah,
my theory is that J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, and they got together and were like, I'm going to do this first one. I'm going to bring everybody back. I'm going to set this thing up, and then I'm going to pass it to you. And then you're going to do whatever you want to do with it. Take it wherever you want to take it. Make it yours. Because we know that you can do that. And I have the highest of expectations.
You know what I love so much about Breaking Bad?
What's that?
Like seasons 3 and 4, especially Breaking Bad seasons 3 and 4 are so great, and they're great because when season 3 is over, when season 4 is over, you're like, how the fuck? What the fuck's gonna happen now? Like, how the fuck do you even
Where's it gonna go from here?
How the hell? Whereas, like, Episode 8, you kind of know where it's going to go. You don't quite know, but you know there's so much left unsaid that that they have to address it. And you're like, oh, well, you could kind of write it a little bit. Like, I feel like J.J. Abrams made it too easy for Rian Johnson. And I would have loved... I would have loved if Rian Johnson had to start from scratch on his own. You know what I mean? Whereas instead of like, oh, okay, I'll address those things I'll address all those things in my movie. You know what I mean? If it was like, if the movie ended, which a good movie should do, which is, I don't even understand how you would even make a second film. Like The Dark Knight, which is, you don't have any sense of where it's going to go in the third film of the Dark Knight trilogy. The Dark Knight ends, and you're like, how the fuck, like, where do you even go from here? And I still feel like people give a great disservice to Christopher Nolan, because he really had to start, he was forced to start from scratch because his actor died, and he's like, well, I can't use Joker anymore, I have to do something else. And, you know, Bane may not have been as exciting as a villain as the Joker, but he still kind of made that fucking work. He made that work. And each of those films, Dark Knight especially, and Dark Knight Rises, they were able to kind of nod to each other, and yet be their own beast, you know. And so, like, and there are good examples of sequels, like, yes, passing the torch, but not having to, like, it's still possible to have a sequel, but without the previous movie asking the sequel to answer every question for it, you know?
Right. Like, at the end of Empire, the only question was, you know, are they going to go get Han? Like, are they going to rescue Han?
Yeah.
Or is Luke going to finish his training? Mm-hmm. And that's really it.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no. I mean, no. What am I talking about? Like, that's when you find out that he's the father and stuff. There's a lot of questions.
And all that stuff is like is really like towards the end. Like maybe around the middle you find out. No, I think it's actually towards the end actually when he finds out that Darth Vader is his father.
It's like the last scene. Having
that be so close to the end, like, that's what makes Empire so strong. Is like, what? You know, like, that kind of stuff. Like, that's why that worked. You know, I'm not saying that Kylo Ren has to be. We don't have to find out, or maybe like the fact that Kylo Ren knows who his parents are. You know what I mean? Like, there's less. It's more like, oh well, this is a true statement. You know what I mean? Like, it was almost a disadvantage. It almost worked. Like, again, it kind of worked against J.J. Abrams, based on the nature of how he tells his story, that he's so secretive about every plot detail. Because was it surprising that Kylo Ren was Han Solo and Leia's son? Yeah,
because of the nature of the beasts. As people speculating.
As soon. Did you know?
I didn't know, but like, I had heard like people wondering, oh, is he this person's son? Is she their son? Like, you know, those were their questions. Like, who are these new people? Mm-hmm. So when it was revealed, it was like, oh, it wasn't like, oh wow, it was kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah,
those kind of revelations just didn't really like pop like the way it did with the original trilogy. So or like you don't even find out that Luke is Leia's brother until the third film. You know,
right?
So, and like I almost wish that like we could just get over those kind of revelations, like who is whose son, who is whose daughter, because since we already had that, right, with the original trilogy, so when this new trilogy kind of does the same thing, it kind of loses its edge, because you're like, oh, who is he? That son? Is Rey someone's daughter? Like, who are like you kind of know that these questions are going to be addressed.
Oh, they're coming, yeah.
So
but I think that's part of what makes Star Wars so so memorable, and that's like because there are none of those aha moments in the prequels. That's what makes them so forgettable.
Yeah, yeah. I guess what I'm saying is like, because we've already had those aha moments in the original trilogy, it's so hard to make them aha moments now, to have like those twists.
Audience is expecting it, right?
I feel like you're gonna have to try a little bit harder, and I hope they do, because I mean, killing off Han Solo at that moment, you're like, whoa, but after that, you're like, oh well, Harrison Ford. Like, yeah.
Once you take yourself out of the movie, I guess.
But
let me just say, like, before we finish it up, like, I thought he did an awesome job, because like, it wasn't Harrison Ford, it was Han Solo,
right?
You know? It wasn't like when he was doing Indiana Jones again.
No,
it really felt like he stepped right back into that character.
Mm-hmm. They did, and I thought he did a great job of that. I definitely agree. It's such a fun time. It's funny to think that he just becomes like that same old, what would you call his job? Smuggler. Like now he's like 70.
Yeah, and he hasn't retired yet.
And he's kind of like this dickhead smuggler still. You know what I mean? So
still fucking around with Chewie, still pissing people off.
Yeah, exactly. Like at his age, still,
Yeah.
Oh, wow. We haven't addressed that. The scene in the bar, which was kind of again
the nod to the Mos Eisley scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering what you thought about that scene there.
I recognized that it was a nod to that. It was nice to see. Like, really, I was giddy. I was just excited because it's like, here we have creatures again. Like, we have alien. Like, it's hard for me to watch it without comparing it to the prequels. And they knew that when they were making this movie. So that's why it's so obvious that they have to. Like, they felt so inclined to address it. But for like the section of that sequence when they're just going, here's this alien, here's that alien. Like, you look at all this diversity. You didn't get any of that really in the prequels. So it was exciting to be in, like, it's like, here we are in this world again. It feels like I haven't been here for such a long time. And for them to follow that sequence up with the sense of impending doom, because you know that both sides of the war are being called in, and then it leads to Rey's discovery down in the basement. I really enjoyed that. That was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
When she goes in the basement and finds Luke's
just her exchange with Lupita Nyong'o's character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It really led me to believe that there's more to her than what meets the eye, and it just I'm excited to find out just who this person is, because like somebody who's that powerful and that much of a survivor doesn't just show up in the desert one day for no reason.
Yeah,
there's a reason.
Yeah, and I guess what I was saying is, like, if we at least knew what she was doing in her home planet, like just what she did, like anything, any sense of what her world is before she's thrown into this other world. That's all I really needed, and I didn't get that. That's why it's because with Luke Skywalker, he only has maybe like one or two scenes with his foster parents basically, and then they're dead. But we still had those one or two scenes. You know what I mean? We still kind of got a little bit. We have no idea who he is really by the end of the first episode, and we find that out in episode 5. I just feel like we didn't get to know anything about Rey. She just kind of there, and knowing that she's going to become like this very crucial character. I almost feel like this movie should have been more her story. Like,
I thought it was her story. I thought it was different because she didn't have the Obi-Wan Kenobi guide, that Luke did. Here is somebody who's, like, where she comes from. She comes from, like, she was a little girl, so she grew up there. That is her home. She grew up alone, basically as a slave. And, she's out in this world now. She knows how to survive on her own 2 feet by her own wits, and she's a good person. You could see that when she doesn't sell BB-8 for like all those portions, I think they were calling them. So like you get some, like, there's character development there for sure. But I know what you're saying.
I wouldn't really call it development. I would say that there's a character there in a world, but
they're showing you who she is to a certain degree. I guess not development, but like they're it's not just like here's a pretty face. This is the face of our franchise now. It's like there's a little more to it than that.
There's more, like yes, we kind of get a sense that there's going to be more to it, but like when she says like I got to go back to my home planet, we don't really know why she needs to go back. We don't know why. We don't know what.
She wants to go back because she thinks she's getting. She was told that they're going to come back for her. That was in the flashback. That's why she wants to go back.
Who's going to come back for her?
The people, whoever dropped her off. In the flashback, you're looking down at her from the perspective of whoever's dropping her off, and she's crying, "Don't leave me, don't leave me," and you hear them say, "We'll come back for you," or something like that.
But like she was like 5. It looked like
right, yeah. And that's one of the big themes of the movie. Is like that's what Maz says to her. Is like at a certain point you have to realize that they're not coming back. You have to go to them. It's kind of like you have to grow up.
Mm-hmm. All right,
so that's how I took that.
Yeah, but I just feel like for so long and for so much of that movie, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I feel like a flashback isn't enough to really understand the character. Like it's like it was like enough to wonder for the sequel, but like you could still lay down a basic groundwork of character. At least enough. Like because I feel like Finn gets compared to Rey, he gets a pretty solid groundwork. We know what he does. We know what he doesn't want to do.
Well, I think that's because there's no secret there. With Rey, like they don't want to reveal too much because there might be some tie-ins there. Like who is she connected to? With Finn, what you see is what you get. He's a stormtrooper.
But like when they call her a scavenger, I'm like, oh, she's a scavenger. You get there's just to see her more in her environment. You know what I mean? It's literally like that same day almost. She goes from. Finding BB-8 to being sucked into this world. It's like all in one swoop. You know what I mean? It's just I'm just asking for like maybe 5 more minutes to give us some semblance of who she is on that world. You don't have to reveal anything about like she might be connected to this person. You just have to fucking what does she do? Like what does she do when she's not having to fight all the time?
Well, to defend the movie a little bit compared to A New Hope with Luke. You meet him that day that he meets those droids, and literally that same day, or the next day, he's off to find R2, and then he meets up with Ben, and then the rest is history. So it's kind of the same time.
When he meets those droids, but we still spend time with him before he meets those droids. We still spend time with him...
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we do.
No, you meet the droids first, and then when the droids come to Luke, then you meet Luke.
But we don't. But he finds the droids. He goes to the shop with his
uncle.
With his uncle to find the droids. He still exists before the droid, before he knows who these droids are.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, like the amount of time that it takes before you're seeing what he's doing in his normal everyday life. What you see that with Rey with the. Exploring ships, finding junk, selling it. Like that is her life.
Yeah.
And I think we spend the same amount of time looking at that we saw with Luke on the moisture farm.
It's not the same.
They find that droid.
It's not the same amount of time. It's definitely. I mean.
No, not like physical movie time. I'm talking about like in the movie, like it's a day or two.
I feel like it was at least 2 days with A New Hope. not to hang on. I feel like I think it's just a case of the movie being so much in fast forward, so quick paced.
Yeah, it definitely feels faster. But let me tell you, they buy the droids, they take them back, they give C-3PO his little lubrication bath or whatever, and then that's when he finds the video, and then he says, "Oh man, tomorrow I have to take you into town." And get your minds wiped or whatever, but then the next morning he wakes up and R2 is gone, and they have to go find him.
Yeah, the next day R2 is gone. The next day, and the very next day. That's 2 days. Yes. Boom.
Yeah, and with Rey, you spend a whole day with her. She cashes in her blah blah, gets her portions, goes home, makes dinner, goes to bed, and then the next morning. Oh wait, no, you're right.
She goes to bed. When did she go to bed?
Oops. She doesn't. Yeah, that's what she hears.
Does she have a bed? Where does she live?
She lives in that
where's her
crashed
home?
AT-AT.
And her crash what?
The AT-AT?
AT-AT?
Yeah, the big robot thing from Battle Hall.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Did you see that? She was like, that's where she was hanging out eating. Like she was. Like,
oh, okay, yeah. She does have
on its side.
All right. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I do.
It's a silly thing to argue.
No, I guess I guess my thing is like, I'm not convinced that she has a solid enough foundation before she gets thrown.
It's the pacing, man. It's the pacing. This movie was rapid fire pacing.
Yeah.
Boom, boom. Mm-hmm. And A New Hope is like much slower, and I think that's why it stands on its own, is because it gives itself enough time to be its own movie.
Mm-hmm. I guess what I'm trying to say is that while I'm glad Force Awakens is better than the prequels, I wish it would have spent more time not trying to be better than the prequels, but to be better than the original trilogy. Do that.
That's a tall order. Yeah. Okay.
Well, do it though.
Not even J.J. Abrams could do that. Not even George Lucas.
Well, don't sign on to the freaking movie then. At least try, and if it's just as good, it's just as good. It should be on that level, or else. If you're gonna try and continue the original trilogy, aim high. Don't aim to be better than the prequels, because you don't really have to do much then. You don't.
I think it is. In all fairness, I think he aimed pretty high, and I think most people are satisfied with this movie.
Yeah, well, most people are satisfied with this movie the way they're satisfied with Jurassic World.
Oh God! Don't do that. I'm not trying to be up all night talking.
It plays on nostalgia so much, though. It really does. There's a huge nostalgia factor with this movie. You're excited because you're seeing these people again, just like in the Jurassic World. You're excited because you're in the Jurassic Park world again. And I don't know. You ask a year from now, ask someone where Rey sleeps at night, and they're not going to know. You know what I mean? If you ask does Luke Skywalker have an uncle? Yeah, he does. I remember that. And that movie came out in 1977, and I was born 10 years after. That's how. Yeah, but I saw it many, many moons ago. So there you go.
There you go.
I'm not. I shouldn't be. I didn't want to play that card. I wasn't going to play that card. I was like I had it in my back pocket. I don't view them in the same light. I'll say that. I do, but at the same time, Colin Trevorrow is directing episode 9. So
I know. I'm a little worried about that. Good luck
with that. You know, it's weird. It's like they want to like mimic the original trilogy so bad that they had J.J. Abrams ape Lucas. Now Rian Johnson's going to make the good one, and which is unfair because I think A New Hope is a classic. But I'm just saying, like it's a.
No, I hear you.
It's a yeah. And
most
then
people like Empire the most.
And then they're gonna make Trevorrow do the Return of the Jedi film, which is like, watch Return of the Jedi. Like, because it's still in the classic mold of the original Star Wars trilogy, there's still a lot of great stuff in it.
It's definitely the weakest of the three.
But man, we spent a lot of time with Jabba the Hutt and his fucking dancers and singers and whatever the fuck we're doing there for way too long. And then you got the Ewoks. People complain about the Ewoks, but man, like, how much longer do I have to spend time with Jabba the Hutt and his like freaking crew, like just waiting? We're just waiting for this fucking show to be over. And Jabba, like, all this fucking like gross Jabba the Hutt. I almost like wish there was those like that characters. Like, we don't even have like like the kind of sketchy piece of shit characters like for an extended period of time. We get a hint.
That's the third movie. Jabba didn't show up till the third movie.
In the special edition version of A New Hope, he's in the first one.
Fuck the special edition. Yeah, they've ruined that.
Okay, but
he's not supposed to be in the first one. They cut that scene.
But in A New Hope, Han Solo was kind of the sketchy guy, right? Because we don't really know who.
Yeah.
we don't really know what his deal is. In Empire Strikes Back, it's Lando Calrissian. Like, there's still like these like medium characters, like these medium kind of bad characters, and like I don't know, like I just feel like, do we have like the kind of medium like that guy or like a Boba Fett, which is again that's kind of like that's more Empire Strikes Back. I guess I'm hoping that we have that. We have more of a sense of like this world beyond these central
mystery. It's too good and bad.
Mm-hmm. Because it'd be nice to have like, because that's what's fun about the original trilogy. Like going back and watching it is like. Going to like let's go to Lando Calrissian's house and hang out. Like even though he screws them over, it's kind of fun in the beginning when they're like, high fiving each other. Like it would have been. What if Finn's father is Lando? Yes, let's do it.
Maybe his grandfather's Mace Windu because he's got to be related to the only other black people in the Star Wars universe.
That'd be awesome. I would love that if that was the only because like. He's like the only black. He really is the only black person in this movie. He's the only. Like, there's like the one black person in each set of trilogies, so naturally they have to be related to each other.
Yeah.
I mean, at least show me a world with more. Show me a planet with more with black people in it, and they'll be okay. Well, then there's lots of black people in Star Wars. You know what I mean? Show like they don't even show a planet where there's like lots of. They'll do like. Wookiees. We know there's a Wookiee planet somewhere, but we don't know.
And Ewoks and all that.
Exactly. So it's like you're kind of like, okay, where does Finn come from? And does he come from the same place Mace Windu comes from, or Lando, or like, I mean, or does he come from like? Because how does that work? You know what I mean? Like, how does it work? There's planets of white people, and then aliens and weird people. You know what I mean? I don't know. Or where's the Asians? Where's the Asian? Are there any Asians in these movies? I don't know.
I think there was one.
Oh shit! There was one in this one. There was one in when
they were planning the attack.
I guess we would have. I guess it would have been fun to see like those characters a little bit more because those are kind of like the Lando types. The kind of like easily defeatable, but fun to watch while you're with them, still fun to go.
I definitely hope that Rian Johnson brings some of those characters to the table next time around.
For sure. And like Lando doesn't have to be related to anybody, but just to see Lando once, like, can we see Lando like one more? He doesn't die, does he? Does he die?
No, he doesn't die. But Billy D. Williams looks pretty terrible. I don't know if he's up for it.
Well, I think he should be. I think he should get his ass in those. It would be nice to have. Like, one of those medium characters come back. Or at least Boba Fett. Like, what else Boba Fett
I don't think... Nah, Boba Fett's not coming back. I don't think we're getting any more of those...
Oh, he dies, doesn't he? Does he die in the third
he goes into the sand pit, but then...
That's true. Fuck.
In the expanded universe, they have him flying out. Like, he comes out in comic books and stuff like that. Because George Lucas didn't know how popular he was, so if he knew that, he wouldn't have killed him off. So he was giving him such a shitty death.
I mean, I will say this about George Lucas, is that at least... Like... Fan service is good and all, but if George Lucas was a better writer, it would have worked to his advantage. They didn't give a shit about his audience. You know what I mean? Because he's like, fuck you, I'll make the movie that I want to make. But that's a great way to make a movie if you're good at what you do.
Yeah, it forces the audience to come to you.
Exactly. Like, kind of like Nolan. Like, even like the way Dark Knight Rises ends, like. The way that ends, you're kind of like, oh wow, like, so that's Robin, and that's kind of ballsy to introduce a Robin character after you have the four, the Schumacher movies. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't that far. It was like 14 years or so after Batman and Robin, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt is Robin basically. Yeah, and like he does it in his own way, but. Like, I do feel like Christopher Nolan at least had like a I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna do it my way strategy. Yeah, I didn't feel like
do this because I can.
Yeah, I didn't feel like the Dark Knight trilogy was, and that's actually a really good comparison to make, because the Dark Knight trilogy had to answer to the Schumacher films, which almost destroyed the Batman franchise. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Christopher Nolan was the one who was able to make it so good that Warner Brothers was like, you know what? We're okay with destroying the Batman franchise again with Zack Snyder. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So, they're like, you know what? We had 3 great Batman movies. Why not just fuck it up again? Why not just completely just ruin it by having not even the fact that Ben Affleck's playing Batman, but just having Zack Snyder tell that story.
Did you see the trailer, dude? Did you watch that shit?
Nah, not the last one.
If you watch the most recent trailer, you pretty much don't have to watch the movie.
Is it that much? There's that much in it?
It's very revealing.
I guess there's a lot to say about like Star Wars not revealing itself. Like,
yeah,
I feel like Star Wars.
That's how you do it. That's how you do trailers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what J.J. Abrams is really good at, I guess.
Yeah, it's just his problem is when the reveal comes, like having it, because now like, we expect a reveal. We expect what's the mystery box going to be? You know, what's J.J. Abrams' secret in this film going to be? Because he's like, there's going to be a secret. I can't tell you anything. There's going to be a secret. And I'm like, okay, what's the secret? What's the secret? And then like you almost expect it. It's almost like I hate to say it, but almost kind of like an M. Night Shyamalan type thing. That's what it's going to become. That's what it's going to become for J.J. Abrams. Because
I understand. Yeah.
Because like. It's not much of a problem with Star Wars, even though we do kind of have like some secrets revealed. But I'm saying like for the future of J.J. Abrams, like what does he even do? And whatever he does, he can't keep doing the same shtick. It works for Star Wars because it's Star Wars, but like it's almost like when you ask like what's the next J.J. Abrams film going to be, you're asking what's the next franchise he's going to do. You know, like
right.
It's just kind of.
I don't know where he's going to go from here. He could do it. Like he could do anything. He's done Star Wars. Like, he could do whatever he wants. It's kind of crazy. He might not ever do a movie ever again, right?
I don't know. But like, it doesn't seem like he. It doesn't seem like I'll just end. I'll end my point on this is that you don't see J.J. Abrams like clamoring to make like a passion project. Like Star Wars turned out to be his passion project, but that kind of fell in his lap. You know what I mean? But like the J.J. Abrams film that he was born to make, like, does that film even exist? I wouldn't say it's Star Wars. You know,
I don't know.
Because it's kind of weird to be like, I was born to take over someone else's franchise. You know what I mean? Like, what's his thing? Or is it gonna be directing a Star Wars movie and a couple of Star Trek movies? Like, I don't.
Well, he's had a couple things. You know, he had Lost, he had Aliens.
Yeah, is it gonna be more TV that he's known for? I mean. After directing Star Wars, I would say no. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I don't think. I mean, we're in an interesting time now where it's not always about going to the bigger movie now. Like he might, do something on Netflix. He might do. He could literally, after doing Star Wars, he could do whatever he wants, and I think that's a good position for a guy like J.J. Abrams to be in. Like, I'm sure he's comfortable. Like, all right, I can segue this into anything.
I don't know. I think he should be worried. I think he should worry about his career now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's too comfortable. It's like I almost feel
I can do no wrong.
Yeah, I don't feel like he's ever really, because he's in these safe franchises, like safe in that like they're guaranteed to make money. Like you could say Star Trek, not necessarily, but yeah, he made those movies into movies that would make money. You know, he knows how to do that.
Sure.
I guess the question is, like, and I'll end my point with this question. Like, does he know how to make these kinds of films without, like in his own way? You know, like in his own voice. Does he have a voice? Does he have an original bone in his body? Because even when he works in TV, like with like Fringe or Lost or whatever, like he kind of like creates these shows and maybe hangs on for the first season, but then he's like on to the next thing. And like he might still be involved, but how involved can you be in like this new show that you created if you're working on another show? You can't be that involved in that many shows at once. It doesn't work that way. So it does seem like he doesn't really. He has ADD almost. He almost has ADD.
Hollywood ADD.
Yeah. But
I guess you could make that argument. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the way he paces his films, it definitely seems that way.
Not too much lens flare in this. I was happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, yeah. I mean, if there could have been, like, at least one or two trade embargo like discussions.
Oh God, no way.
It's almost like the opposite of Peter Jackson with the Hobbit movies, where like they'll literally spend time talking about fucking like these two wizards with giant beards will just talk about fucking. You don't even give a shit. It doesn't have to do with anything about what's going on at that moment. You know what I mean? Peter Jackson just loves those books so much that he wants to do like the most boring shit because he thinks it's fascinating. You know what I mean? Whereas, but for me, in the original trilogy, there isn't a boring second in the original trilogy, in my opinion. There's not a second where I want to get up and go somewhere else, in the original trilogy. So I guess that's for me, it's like, why speed it up when it's already so... You have so many basic good things here. Why speed it up?
Well, that's not true, because you said that you thought that they were at Jabba's palace for too long.
Yeah, and the third film...
Yeah. You said original trilogy, that's... Who's the third film?
I mean, like... But for the most part... but that was when Lucas was going off the deep end. He was starting to get off go on the weird.
I could see it coming.
But like generally speaking, I could still. That could have been cut down a little bit. Right. But that was just basic excessiveness. That had nothing to do with character at all. I'm talking about like when the movie's slowing down because we're getting more acquainted with these characters, whereas that was just like all these characters that we already know. We kind of don't really know about Jabba the Hutt that much, but we kind of get the sense of who he is without having them like have to watch him be entertained for like a good solid like 5 minutes of just someone singing to him.
That's special edition, dude. That's not the original version.
Yeah, well, that
wasn't in the original version. That's George Lucas fucking with us years later. There's a singer in the original, but they don't have a solo. They don't have a song.
There's a whole song in the special edition. I don't.
Yeah. There's like a terrible CGI thing with like a long, skinny mouth, and she's like I don't know. It's terrible.
Okay, well then there you go. Maybe my point stands then. I don't even know because there isn't a boring second maybe in the original version because that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The thing that
there you go.
There you go. My point still stands. All right.
There it is.
See, that was just a case of George Lucas fucking up his own shit, which All right.
Good at that. All right, man. That was a good episode.
I think we really hit the nail on the head. I think we really nailed it. I think we got the epicness of Star Wars and put it in audio format. So good on us. Yeah. And the next time on the next long take.
That's right.
We're gonna take a ride.
We'll do a live taping.
Yes.
In person. None of this Skype across the country shit.
Mm-hmm.
No. You'll be there. I'll be there in the flesh. Mm-hmm. We're going to be talking about not one, but two movies that we're going to see that day.
Ugh.
There's going to be some hot takes going on. And we might be a little drunk, too. So, yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that a lot. And, we're calling it the Day of Cinema. It's the Day of Cinema, Revenant, and the Hateful Eight. That's what we should mention. That we're seeing the Revenant, and then we're seeing the Hateful Eight in New York City. We're gonna have an audience following us, and it's gonna be great. We're gonna have cameras. I think CBS wants to have nothing to do with it, but I'm calling around trying to see if maybe CMT, the country music station, has any interest. I don't know. Maybe PBS. I don't really know. But because I want our tax dollars to be spent recording our podcast. Viewers like you will want to watch the long take. Oh, and like PBS, donate money to Justyn or Ken.
Yeah, anytime you want.
Yeah, anytime you want.
We're always accepting donations.
Ken Gidry's address is at California. Justyn Moore's address is Morristown, New Jersey. So just send us anything you want to send us, money preferably, and we'll accept it and we'll spend it. So
there it is.
There it is. All right, Justyn. 12 days. 12 days.
Yeah. Wow, man, I'll see you soon. I can't wait.
You know what? Me neither. Me neither. Alright, guys. That's all. Good night, long take listeners.
Have a good night. We'll see you next time.
May the Force be strong with you.
Close enough.
No, I wanted to do my own version.
I got you.
May the strong Force be in you. Wait, what?
Whoa, where are you going down?
May my Force be inside you. What? Okay, it's getting worse.
Rated R. PG-13 became rated R just now.
May the fucking Force be with you, bitches.
They should still fucking into it. This PG-13, they're allowed what? Who's gonna get to swear?
Well, in a Disney movie, nobody.
Yeah, I know.
It would be great if Luke Skywalker's like, who the fuck are you?
That's how it is.
I'm ready. Like, if he ended that, instead of being like, I don't know, I was expecting him to be like, my daughter, for some,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But if he was like, if there's this big swirling camera, and he's just like, who the fuck are you? And then directed by J.J. Abrams.
That would have been amazing.
I think honestly, Justin, I think that would have been sensational. I'm still recording. And that's the last nugget. Good night.
Good night.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Long take. Bye.